the energy's still up in here, I'm telling you. Woo. Today, I want to talk with you about progression and change. And I would be remiss, being an educator, and not talking about the holiday that's tomorrow, which is Halloween. Halloween started about 2,000 years ago by the ancient Celtics in Britain and Ireland. And it actually started as a celebration called Samhain. It was also referred to as the end of summer. The corresponding day of November 1st on contemporary calendars is when they started their new year. It was considered the beginning of the winter period, where the herds returned home and the pastures were renewed. So this day marks the end of summer and the harvest at the beginning of the dark, cold winter, a time of year that was often associated with human death. The Celts believed that on the night before the new year, the boundary between the living and the dead became blurred, that little veil. How many of you have heard about the veil? Yes, that little veil became very blurry. So what they would do is they would wear costumes as to fool the evil spirits so that they wouldn't, have any bad luck. Now, move forward to 1000 AD, the church made November 2nd what was called All Souls Day, and this was to honor the dead. It was their way of trying to replace the Celtics religion, the Celtics Festival of the Dead, with a church-sanctioned holiday. So it was All Souls Day with big bonfires and parades, and they still had people dressing up. That day later was also called All Hallows or All Hallowmans. So, and it actually became Halloween as we know it. Well, in the 1920s and 30s, it became a secular and community-centered event. Despite the best efforts of schools and communities, vandalism began to plague the celebrations. By 1920 and 1950, trick-or-treating was an inexpensive way for the community to share in the Halloween celebration. In theory, this was able to help them hopefully prevent any tricks. Today I want to talk to you about progression and change. It is something that we all face every day, is it not? We are not the same as we were 10 years ago, 20 years ago, believe it or not, even an hour ago. Because your body is continually making blood cells. It's continually turning over. And they say that in 7 days your whole body has replaced all of the cells. Aren't we miraculous creatures? And I want to talk about spiritualism and how spiritualism and our mediumship has changed. How many of you have read or heard of the Fox sisters? Okay, so that's where spiritualism got its beginning. Two little girls, Katie and Maggie, ages 9 and 11. We have some new people, so I'm going to briefly review that for them. There were many people who lived in this cottage. And these girls and their parents moved in, and they began to hear raps and noises. So they eventually said to this rapping noise, "Mr. Splitfoot, do as I do." And they clapped their hands, and they heard 3 raps. And then they put their fingers up. They also heard 3 raps. Now you have to remember, these girls were 9 and 11. Pretty young. Probably pretty scary for them. But through this communication of raps, spiritualism in the modern vernacular occurred. They began communicating with this dead peddler, whose name was Charles B. Rosna, who was murdered in that cottage and buried in the walls. It wasn't until several years later when his bones were discovered. And this is such a special event because it marks the ability for us to communicate with the spirit world. It first started with raps, simple knockings. Then their mother, Mrs. Fox, decided to continue that communication and did so using the alphabet and would go through each letter for an affirmative rap of 1. There were other questions that were asked with an affirmative rap of 1 and 2 for a no. It was a long, tedious process, as you can imagine, going through 26 letters of the alphabet to have a message. However, as time grew and as time went on, and Spirit learned how to communicate with those little girls, bringing their vibration down and the little girl's vibration up, they continued to prove the continuity of life at this young age under extreme test conditions. They were tied to the chairs, stripped naked, had their hands down, and they still heard raps. Because Spirit knew that they had to get that message across, that we continue after this physical being. Because we are spirit first, encased in this physical body. This communication continued. And we see back in the day with thousands of people going to churches and to camps throughout the United States to hear from their dear departed loved ones. And then we got into the time of war, where there were people killed in battle, and it became all the more prevalent for people to know that their loved ones had passed and they were still present and still around them. For you see, the spirit world is not some place far off in the sky, far off in some never, never land. The spirit world is right here, right now, right where we are. It is an interpenetrating world, right here. They're in this room. They're all around. And our loved ones are still connected to us through that thread of love. Spiritualism progressed to where we now communicate. We don't need the wrapping. We communicate through our clairs. How many of you are familiar with that? Clairsentience, clairaudience, clairophilance, all of those things. That's how we communicate now. We can feel their presence, for them working with us, teaching us how to communicate with them. I know many of you have felt spirit around you, have sensed spirit, have felt your loved ones present after their passing. And some of you have been afraid and shut that down and said, no thanks, I'm good. If you choose to, you can open that door. Spirit's always there waiting for you. Each and every one of you are a medium. Because you're spirit first. It is if you choose, for we have personal responsibility and free will. We can choose to learn and grow and learn how to adapt to that energy so that we too can communicate with spirit. And I'm hearing that many of you already do in your own way. So spiritualism has also progressed. And I want ask you, what about you? Are you progressing? How many of you have ever noticed that your tastes have now changed since you've been older? Besides those of you. Well, maybe even you too. Sometimes your tastes change, right? I know, I'll tell you a funny story. When I was little, I would not eat tomatoes. Hated tomatoes. Could not eat them. But yet I put ketchup on everything. And I loved pizza. And my mother would say to me, I thought you didn't like tomatoes. I don't like tomatoes. Well, those things are made of tomatoes. And I went, well, yeah, but I don't like tomatoes. I still love them, by the way. Your tastes have changed. Your ideas of things have changed, have they not? Remember how you looked at things when you were younger? You looked at them with kind of a uneducated form, right? Because you didn't have all the experiences of life. You didn't have that knowledge that you gained from other people. You didn't have all those layers built up around you. Because as we grow, we tend to start protecting ourselves, do we not? So that we're not affected by society. And we shut parts of us off. And perhaps we've even been scared of things in the past and we're like, not going there again. I know many of us can think back and how we were hurt in relationships. And we thought, okay, so I'm never dating again. Thankfully that didn't happen. You dated again because you have children here, so we must be propagating in some way, right? And for our young people here, I want to tell you, allow yourself to just understand things around you. For you are the most open, as you don't have all of those layers around you. Spirit does not come to frighten. They come to share love and support and encouragement. They've already lived their lives here. They're done living here on the earth plane. But they do go on. And you know, they can go to school there. They can enjoy all their favorite activities that they did here. Sure they can. The spirit world is just as real to them as our world is to us. And when you start hearing things, go, is that you, Spirit? I think I heard you say, don't take that road. I think I heard you say, do the dishes later, right? Wouldn't that be nice? Clean the house later. Work on that communication with them. They're there. If you could see what I see, you'd see this room is completely full. And they love you. And they want to help you progress on this plane. Because that's what we're all here to do. Help each other grow. Help each other gain knowledge. Being accepting of every person. No matter what they look like, no matter what they call themselves, it doesn't matter. They're a person. I know you've heard that saying, we all put our pants on one leg at a time, right? We're all the same, really. We're all spirit inside. We have a body. This body helps us maneuver on this plane. It helps us understand natural and physical laws. It helps teach us about others and about being of service to others. Because that's the highest highest and the best. Helping everybody. Teaching everybody. Loving everybody. That's who we are. That's who we're meant to be. And how fortunate we are to be here in this loving church with loving leaders who always promote the highest and the best for you. We are very blessed to be here. So as you think about the changes that have gone on in your lives, see if it's where you want to go. Because maybe you're not happy with some of the changes. Guess what? You can change it. See where you want to be. Make goals for yourself. Know that this is a natural progression. Sometimes we go kicking and screaming, right? Especially those of us who are older. We're like, I never had those wrinkles before. What are those spots doing? But if you look back at the wisdom and the knowledge that you have gained over your life, would you change? Would you trade your life? Because I guarantee you, if everybody put all their problems in one pot here, and you were able to pick whatever you want, you'd pick your own. Because it's familiar to you. And you know what's going on, right? So if you want your life to get better, choose differently. Open yourself up. Learn, grow. For everything that you do here on earth goes with you to the other side. And I know you guys have heard me say, once you pass over to the spirit world, you go like little wings and go flapping around. You're who you are. You're still who you are. And when spirit comes through and talks to us, they identify with their physical being. Their energy, what they looked with, what they passed, how they felt, their messages of love and support to you. And if you live your life doing the right thing, following the golden rule, do unto others, you will attract the highest spirit to you. Because that's who you are. That's your energy. That's your vibration. You can't help but attract what you are and what you believe. So as we think about progression and change, this world is going to change every day. Sometimes every hour. And if you listen to the news, it seems like it changes every 15 minutes, doesn't it? Fill yourself with love and positivity. Meditate. Become quiet. Listen to Spirit. They want to help you. They do, I promise. So your change and your progression is up to you. Are you swayed and affected by the earth and by the changes that are happening? Some weather changes. You don't have to be. Because your rightful place is part of Spirit. Keeping an even mind, not judging. Most of the time we judge something. Oh, that's bad. Oh, that's good. But there's a divine plan. We don't always see everything. Be accepting and be grateful for Spirit's support, because all of you can think of 1 or 2 episodes in your life, probably many more, where you have felt Spirit's support and Spirit's love. And you look back and you think, how did I get through that? How did I make it? Because you had the support of Spirit helping you. And they will continue to help you. God bless you.